graders, welcome to another fabulous online math lesson. If you see, our learning target for today is use various strategies to add integers. And I'm noticing a couple things. The last lesson we talked about integers and what integers meant. So we probably need to know that. And we wrote down in our notes that integers are positive or negative whole numbers. Good news for some of you, we are not talking about fractions or decimals yet. Don't worry, they are coming. Just not yet. So that's kind of a hint for yourself too. If I'm getting a fraction or a decimal answer, probably something went wrong. Also, various strategies. So there's probably more than one way to do this. So that's also good news for some of us. The first thing we need to know is this topic called addition of opposites. Adding opposites always results in a zero. If I have positive 2 and negative 2, I get 0. If I have positive 5 and negative 5, I get 0. If I have negative 100 and I add 100, I get 0. So the same amount of positives and negatives are going to equal 0. Some people say that as canceling out. It doesn't necessarily mean canceling out. It just means the value you have is literally nothing. Knowing that and thinking about this problem, 2 plus negative 5, what sort of picture could you draw that represents that situation? Pause if you need some time to do that in your notes section. I was thinking something like this. If I have 2 positive cubes and 5 negative cubes, notice how I kind of lined them up? Because in that slide before, it told me 2 positives and 2 negatives were going to be worth 0. So right here, I have 2 positives and 2 negatives that are now worth 0. What is left? 3 negatives. That's just one way to do it. There's lots of different ways. Some people just put positive and negative signs. Some people use colors. I tried to use colors also. Some people used circles and triangles. There's lots and lots of ways to do this. Pick something that you like and you're comfortable with. Here's our next one. Pause if you need a moment. What is that going to look like in a picture? Here's my 1 negative and my 4 positives. I know 1 negative and 1 positive are going to be worth 0. So what's left? 3 positives. Here's another one. Give it a try. Pause the video for more time. Three positives and 3 negatives. I'm adding an equal amount of opposites. These are equal to 0. What's left? 1, 2, 3, 4 positives. Last one to try. I can tell you a mistake that happens a lot is people are getting in the habit of equal amounts of positives or negatives, and they thought this was going to be a 0. But it turns out I don't have any opposites to add. I have 2 negatives and 2 more negatives. So the only possible answer is a bigger group of negatives, 4 negatives. This is exactly where you left off in 6th grade, just getting into negatives. 7th grade, we have negatives everywhere, so we're really trying to get the hang of this. Another option that helps some people is to think of a number line, especially if you are a football fan. The line of scrimmage is 0 yards. Huge bummer, the first play, the quarterback gets sacked 8 yards back. Wah, wah, wah. Okay, new play. Second play, passes off, hands off to the running back, who gains 3 yards. 1, 2, 3. Now they're 5 yards back from their original spot. They should probably try to find a bigger play for their third down in order to get past and get a first down. So if you didn't really like those cubes or pluses and minuses that you were using, definitely feel free to use a number line. Now, there's going to be times where this is not our best strategy, especially if we get into bigger numbers like -12 plus -31. I do not want to be drawing 12 negative boxes and 31 negative boxes. So there are some rules we can use instead that can help us. If they have the same sign, do you have your notes out, by the way? If they have the same sign, a positive number plus a positive number, I can just add those and get a bigger positive. You've been doing this since kindergarten. 3 positives plus 4 positives is a bigger 7 positives. This is going to work for 2 negative numbers too. A negative plus a negative is going to give you a bigger pile of negatives. Seven negatives in one hand, two negatives in the other hand. Combine them for a big pile of 9 negatives. When they have the same sign, those are the easiest ones. When they have different signs, it's a little trickier. For example, one positive and one negative that I'm trying to add together. Turns out you don't actually add them. Because of that rule of opposites, one adding and one negative turn out to be 0. So you're actually losing some data. Turns out we need a subtraction symbol. So if I have 5 plus -2, the -2 subtracts 2 positives and leaves me with 3. If I have 8 negatives and 6 positives, the 6 positives subtract 6 negatives and leaves me with 2, but I do not have 2 positives left. I actually have 2 negatives. So I'm going to add on to my rule a little bit. Subtract, then give answer the bigger sign. If positives are more, then my answer is positive. If negatives are more, then my answer is negative. That is the biggest mistake that 7th graders make. They have no problem subtracting, but they forget to check at the end if their answer should be positive or negative. So actually, before you do any solving, you can do a prediction of what your answer is going to be. If I look at this one, 10 negatives and 2 negatives, same sign. I'm going to add them to get a bigger negative answer. On this one, 5 positives, 3 negatives. Different signs. Whenever they're different, I will subtract. Which one's bigger? +5. My answer will be positive. Third one, +9, -15. They are different signs. I will subtract. The negative has more, so my answer will be negative. I really need to know that for when I get these bigger numbers. Oh, look, I have a negative and a negative. I have 12 negatives in one pile and I have 31 negatives in my other pile. There is no possible way to get a positive number out of that. Negative plus a negative is a bigger negative. On this second one, I have 7 positives and 18 negatives. I have to subtract, but I'm also noticing the negatives are bigger. So before I even have a number answer, I know it's going to be a negative answer. Pause for a moment and try these 2 that are tougher. I see some adding, which means order of operations left to right. Pause and try. These are slow problems. I get very suspicious when people say after 3 minutes, done. Slow, slow, slow. I see different symbols. I will subtract. There are more negatives. My answer is negative. I see different symbols. I will subtract. Oh, an equal amount of positives and negatives. Nothing. Final answer, negative 10. Notice I'm still using that upside down triangle, funnel, tornado situation to show my work. Bigger numbers on this second one. Different signs, I will subtract. More negatives means my answer is negative. Same signs, I will add. $50 negatives in one pile, 100 negatives in the other pile, a huge pile of negatives. Different signs, I will subtract. More positives means my answer is positive. Please do not treat this as great. I have math done within 5 minutes today so I can go outside. Please, please, please take your time. Do your best. Have a wonderful day. Talk to you later.